welcome to another extravagant, amazing, seductive episode of X Talk. My name is Markus X, and today I am joined by Trev Handsome. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this for I don't know when you messaged me about this, but it's been bright in my calendar for the past few weeks. Yeah.
Here we are in the flesh. Well, kind of, not really. I guess we're in two different places, but here we are talking. Thank you for joining the show.
Yeah, of course. I'm so excited to get into it.
Yes. So for everybody who's listening right now who has not heard of Trev Handsome, can you give us a little introduction? Where are you coming from? What do you have going on? What do you do creatively? All of that.
So I come from the school of Fiona Apple, of Bjork, of Regina Spektor, of Florence and the Machine, of Tori Amos, of Ani DeFranco, very alt rock 90s women. My background is actually in dance, so I grew up studying classical ballet, tap, and jazz since I was 7. And dance was sort of my I did every year would do Tchaikovsky's The Nutcracker, and I was really influenced by classical music and really connected to classical music and the discipline of that art form. And music was sort of obviously it's there because you're a dancer, but the performing side of music was a very internal thing, and I was, as many queer people are, I was severely bullied in school, to the point where I would have to transfer schools. People would throw backpacks at my head. It was awful. So I kind of used music as a retreat from that. I would, instead of hanging out with friends at lunchtime, shooting the shit, being fun, being a kid, I would be in the practice room, teaching myself how to play piano, teaching myself how to sing, in the library, reading, learning about mythologies, learning about, magic in that world. So then music really became, and I was the kid in the computer class that I'd get in trouble because when I was supposed to be doing computer lessons, I was on the YouTube proxy sites finding bootlegs of all of my favorite music. So music
LimeWire.
was really, yes, LimeWire, Music Jesus. Do you remember Music Jesus?
No, I didn't know Music Jesus, but I was definitely on LimeWire, heavy.
Yes.
Downloading all kinds of shit I should not have been downloading.
But basically, my intro to music was sort of this very internal, personal journey, but I always wanted to be a singer-songwriter and a performer. I put on concerts for no one in my house, playing piano, pretending I was getting interviewed about my albums, pretending I was, doing what we're doing right now. And then I manifested getting myself to New York because I wanted to really chase that dream. And now I have 2 albums that I've written, arranged, and produced myself. And hopefully a third one is coming. I just need to have a little bit more life experience to contextualize. So that's kind of me, I guess. That's me so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for people who don't know you, where did you grow up and where are you at now?
Okay, yeah. So I grew up in a small town called Mount Vernon, Washington. It's about an hour north of Seattle. It's on the way to the Canadian border. If you Google it, you'll see the Tulip Festival, which is this huge festival every year of tulip fields that just fields and fields and fields of flowers. It's really, really beautiful, very lush. I always compare it to the Shire if you're into Lord of the Rings. It's very, folksy and small town and mountains and rivers and evergreen trees, and it was very idyllic, but also very suffocating. And now I live in Bushwick in Brooklyn.
Okay, New York.
Yeah, I'm a New York baby. New York baby boy.
So before we get into dancing and then your transition into music, I'm curious, how long have you lived in New York for now?
So I moved here July of 2019, so 6 months before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so I had a taste of what New York was like in its, not heyday, because there's so many different heydays of New York, but the one right before the pandemic, and then everything shut down.
Yeah.
everything. And so I've been here 5 years now to answer that question.
Okay.
Coming on
Okay.
6. July will be six
And
years.
okay, so did you move to New York then, like in pursuit of your dreams? Was it that kind of situation where you wanted to move out there
Yeah.
then to like pursue music?
I mean, I literally wrote in my journal, if you're 24 and still living in Seattle, you're doing something wrong. So
Okay.
I kind of like shamed myself into packing my bags and getting it all together. And so then from there, I was doing a lot of like equity theater. Like I worked for Seattle Opera in their corps de ballet. I worked for
Mm.
Village Theater. I did an equity tour of Newsies. I was the one spinning, doing fouettes on the newspaper. Um,
Okay.
and then I got a job as a cruise line dancer in the Mediterranean through Norwegian Cruise Lines. So I packed my bags, went over to Italy, and did like Italy, Spain, Morocco, Canary Islands, Portugal, Greece, Croatia. Like I went to all these places I never thought I'd get to see, and I was like working as a cruise line dancer. And then I used that money, came back to Seattle, did a little production of West Side Story, and then I moved right to New York.
Okay. Okay,
Mm.
okay. There's a lot there to unpack. So
Yeah,
let's go
yeah.
back before we
So
before we go to cruise line dancing.
I know.
Let's go
I just
all the way
got. There's a
back to
lot. There's a lot there. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
no, this is great.
Mhm.
So okay, so take me back to dancing, childhood dancing. Like did you was it something that you wanted to get into? Was it something like how did you get into dancing originally?
I mean, I think it was sort of like a it started because of like many things in life. It started with a boy, you know?
Oh,
You know,
okay.
I remember specifically, it was like this weird combination of things. I remember specifically my older sister, she was taking ballet class, and I went to see a production of The Nutcracker.
Hmm.
And I remember sitting in the audience and looking on stage, and there was, you know, probably 50 women and one boy. And
Hmm.
this boy, his name is Jordan. I don't know where he is now, but he was
Shout out to
so
Jordan from the Nutcracker.
Jordan Lang, like a beautiful Filipino boy, was just like tearing it up on stage. And I think it was a combination of like desire at an age I didn't understand because I was like 7, but I do, believe like I knew I was fucking gay from the second I had consciousness. I don't know how to
Hmm.
explain it other than like I want a dick. I want a dick. I wanted tits. I wanted happy trails on my face. I knew.
Okay.
And so saw this like beautiful boy dancing, and I think also being maybe like my mom like ran a daycare out of our house growing up, and my dad was like gone all the time. He worked as a tugboat
Hmm.
captain, so he'd be gone for like 5, 6 months at a time. So I think that was like I saw this boy on stage, everyone was applauding, everyone was cheering him on, and I thought, that's how I can get the love or validation that I need, which is very sad, but also very true. Um,
Hmm.
so it was kind of born out of desire, but also like a necessity. Like I don't think I was getting what I needed emotionally um,
Hmm.
from my environment. And I thought, okay, well, if I can go on stage and have everyone love me, then maybe what I am inside is not so bad. So it's a very complicated thing, but that's what therapy's for.
Well, here we are now, all these years later, and look how amazing you are.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of
You
you.
know?
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
it
yeah.
started like that was like the seed, and then it just has continued to grow, 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 grow. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting to because obviously at the time when you're 6 years old, you don't
mhm.
understand what it is that you're doing because you're in a survival state. But now looking back on it, I'm almost 30 now. I see patterns, I see connective tissue, I see these things, and I can go, oh, that's probably why I made that decision.
Mhm.
And
Mm.
it kind of has led me down this path. And honestly, I'm like overjoyed that that was, my path. There's a lot of darkness in it, but who doesn't have,
Yeah.
that inner struggle and turmoil and, um, sort of battle war inside of you, as Lana Del Rey said.
Hmm.
There's a
But
war
like
inside my
also,
mind.
yeah, no, totally. But like, I
Yeah.
do feel like also as artists, if you're able to, I mean, all of us, I think on some level, especially like queer people,
Mm,
typically speaking, I think that queer people are a lot more in tune with like their sensitivity. And I don't mean
mhm,
sensitivity in like the term of like boohoo, like crying. Like I just mean like
mhm,
being sensitive to like your energy, right? Or being sensitive like in general, just like a sensitive soul, if you will. Um
mhm,
and so I do feel like if you can tap into that though, you can make
mhm,
amazing art. And also a lot of artists are extremely emotional and sensitive as well. So like you combine the
mhm.
two and it's just like, all right, like let's create some shit. And I feel like sometimes you have to go through shit to be able to create really good art.
I
Oftentimes.
I agree, and I feel like that's sort of like for me, music really has just been sort of my I've always just felt so fucking weird and so
Mm,
like I don't understand what's going on and why we're doing things the way that we're doing them. And of course, I have my idea of how things should be done, and I think they'd be a
mm,
lot better. Um,
yeah.
but you know, I've always just felt like such a weirdo, and it's like you said, this combination of like, not only am I like sensitive, I'm also fucking gay. I'm also
Mm,
a musician. So there's all these things about me that just make me feel in the environments I was growing up in, I just felt so alien all the time.
mm-hmm,
And I think for me, music has been sort of like a passport or like a tarot card to say, okay, well, this is who I am. This is my
mm-hmm,
personality. If you listen to my song, you'll understand, and we can maybe be a bit closer to each other. Maybe we can not hurt each other because there's a mutual understanding and respect. Because I don't have 3 hours every day to explain my personality to people. You know,
mm-hmm,
like as much as I would love to have like a kumbaya session with every person I meet, and sometimes I do have that, but like I really am trying to relate to people in a world that doesn't make sense to me, and music is really a nice tool to like, okay, if you understand this song, you understand me, and then we can maybe we can do something together, even if that's just
mm-hmm,
like, hey, how's it going? Oh, hey, how's it going? Good, cool.
yeah.
You know, just
Yeah.
recognize each other.
Well, take us back then. So your transition, so
Yeah.
seeing what was his name? What was the boy's name?
Jordan Lang. Ugh,
Jordan. So
Jordan
seeing Jordan on
Lang.
stage, then getting
Yeah.
into dancing, and then transitioning into to music. So you had said that you were like
Hmm.
getting on the piano, playing. Like, what was that
Hmm.
transition period for you in your life?
Well, I remember, I mean, I started writing songs when I was like 11. So like me and
Mm,
my sister, whenever we'd have like family gatherings, like birthdays or like Easter or whatever, my whole family would be like, "Oh, Trevor, play a song." And my
yeah.
older sister has a phenomenal voice, and so we'd sing and play music together. And I think for my like communion when I was 11, I I thought, oh, let me, share one of my original songs, and it was called Cover Me, and I just cringed because it was so
Oh.
like the lyrics were something like cover me in words, cover me
Oh.
in music, cover me in songs. It was like so like just
Yeah.
cover me in
Did
art,
you
you know?
did your family ever question your sexual identity? Were they
Well, it was
was it a big shock when you came out?
it was interesting because like I think everyone always knew,
Yeah.
but it was one of these things of like my mom was very sweet. When I started dating my first boyfriend, it was of course secretive. And I remember
Mm.
like, okay, if we're gonna look at this, what 17-year-old is going to have sleepovers with a 23-year-old who lives across the street from the community college? Who's doing
Yeah.
that? Who's doing
Yeah.
that? Who's doing that?
Yeah.
Why am I doing that?
Hmm.
So she knew, but of course, well, and they really knew because when I was in sixth grade, there's the internet. So I gave our computer like a fucking virus because I was
Yeah.
looking at gay porn,
Yeah.
and I remember the humiliation I felt when my parents discovered this, and then guess what? About a year later, I did it again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Did you tell them, like, did you lie, like, when they found it the first time?
I remember
Were you like,
saying,
no, it wasn't me?
well, I remember just saying like, well, mom, like, I'm I'm in ballet studios all day with girls. I just was like curious about male bodies.
Yeah. You were real curious about the male body.
I was
Uh,
very curious about the male body, and but you know, it starts as everything starts off. It was very innocent, where I was like, oh, men kissing, armpits, um,
mm-hmm,
male stomach hair. You know, like it started off very, sincere, modest, demure maybe, and it got
mm-hmm.
progressively, um, deeper.
Yeah.
Uh, but I remember, so that was like when I was like in middle school, so they knew, but it was like a different thing of like finally knowing, and then eventually I did come out to them, and I think coming out is just such a weird, embarrassing, unnecessary, humiliating process that I would not wish on anyone.
Mm,
Um, because, there's this sort of thing of like, we're raised in these environments where obviously people are having sex because there's people here, you know?
mm-hmm.
Um, but then that's okay because of XYZ reason. Um, and then to have to be like, then I was like an object of question all the time, you know? Are you the top? Are you the bottom? People
Mm,
that really had no business asking me, and people that were mean to me, people that were cruel to me in the first place. Now that I'm gay, I'm sort of this like disco ball
yeah,
that is
yeah. Or
up
like,
to,
yeah, like the circus freak almost.
yes,
Like, let's
yeah,
gawk. Let's look at the
yes,
thing.
yeah. And it was like, that was at a stage in my life where, like, and I'm sure many people can relate to this, like, I was not ready to have that kind of attention because I
Mm,
was still really hurt as a being, because at 9 years old, my dad comes out. There's like a gay wedding on television, and I'm sitting there just going, "Oh, that's so cute." And my dad comes out and like reads me a Bible verse about how you should stone all gay people. So I'm here sitting, "Wow, my
yeah,
dad's gonna murder me," you know,
yeah.
like it's and then to go from that sort of like pendulum swing of it's unsafe for me to be myself, it's dangerous to be myself. And then from there to now everybody wants to know exactly how I'm having sex all the time.
Right.
It's like, what? And that, again, tying back to what I said earlier, it's like, I just don't understand. Like, what is this? What is this that we're doing here? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have, I'm curious, and like we don't need to get into it, but like
We can get
as
into
you're
it.
well, I'm like, let me ask the question and then you, you can decide
I can decide if
that.
I'm ready, if I'm open to
But I'm just
answering.
curious,
Yeah.
like we're all thinking, like, what is this shit? And like some people are out here, like, oh, I have it figured out. Like it's God,
Yeah.
it's Jesus, like whatever it
Yeah.
may be, right?
Yeah.
Like whatever it is that
Yeah.
their belief system is. But like,
Yeah.
do you have like as you're navigating through life with the thought, what is all of this shit? Like, do you kind of have like ideas in your mind that like speak to you or like resonate like with you like as being true? Or are you more just in the space of being like, what is this? Like just kind of in like a constant state of question.
Well, it's interesting because I grew up Lutheran, which I always jokingly call like Diet Catholic, because it's
Mm,
it's Catholicism, but it's like a watered down version of it. And it sort of like was built upon a figure much like Jesus that was like, I don't like the way things are going. I'm gonna make my own religion. And he Martin Luther created his new Lutheranism. And it was sort of built on tenements that were supposed to be a bit more have more equality towards people so that religion could be accessible to all people, and there wasn't the same sort of hierarchies that exist within the Catholic Church. And he got rid of the saints. He was like, we don't need to pray to the saints, we can just have a relationship with God. um,
mm,
but then as I came out and started, experimenting with drugs and living in Seattle and, living a more openly gay lifestyle, I remember specifically having this thought, what if there's no God? And it was sort of this like
Mm-hmm.
Santa reveal of like, oh my gosh. And then, to be honest, I really suffered. My mental health and my emotional well-being really suffered because I think going from sort of this like naive, did you ever like read Narnia? Like
No.
the Chronicles of Narnia. It's like Christian allegory, but like having this sort of like romantic mythological idea of God and heaven and things, and then just to
Mm-hmm.
completely remove it, I really suffered. And it's been in the past couple of years actually, um, I've been really in love with God again, but
Mm.
it has completely changed. I don't think that there's like a singular entity or like bearded person in the sky. I don't believe in heaven and hell.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I do, but I believe it's mental states. You can be in a state
Yeah.
of heaven or you can be in a state of hell. And I guess lately I've been probably more connected to the idea of like Sufism, which is like I'm God, you're God.
Mm-hmm.
This piano is God. That tree is God. The bird is God. This is all God, so it's all beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me feels like that means, kind of tapping into like this idea that I found in Solange's When I Get Home. She talks about like there's like this soundbite that's like, um, the same God that created you created the stars, the moon, the earth. You are walking God consciousness. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what I believe. Like I believe that I'm God, and I believe you are God. And that being said, we need to honor each other as if we are all God and
Yeah.
love each other as if we are all God because we are.
Yeah.
That's how I
Yeah.
feel lately.
Well, I mean, like again, like we don't have to get too deep into it, but just like go thought streaming with you here,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like with what your kind of like my understanding of what your beliefs are. So
yeah.
in that, then I'm curious what you would say to somebody
Mm,
who like maybe is anti-gay and like that's
mm,
their
mm,
truth,
mm.
and they're like, well, this is like, I don't know, whatever, like even if it's detached from like an organized religion, and they're just like,
Yeah,
as my god self, like I don't
yeah.
believe in this other thing.
I think
I
to
don't
them,
know,
I
like.
I think to them, I would say like this isn't really up for discussion or for you to believe in or not. This is
Mhm.
simply, this is true. This is real, and I
Yeah.
don't need you to believe in it. But it is alarming to me that you can say, "Oh, that tree over there, I don't believe in it
Right.
because it disagrees with you."
Right. Right.
That does alarm me,
Yeah, like that's
and I
not
don't.
honoring, like in your idea then of honoring everybody and everything like as their
Yeah,
god self, then it
yeah.
would be like I have to respect you for
I think that
whatever it
that's
is that like all that you.
actually. I know this is like contrary, but I actually believe that's Satan. That
Hmm.
is that is the liar. That is the
Mhm.
deceiver.
Mhm.
To see something clear in your face and say this is not real, that is the devil.
Mhm.
If we're gonna use these words and terms,
Yeah.
because unfortunately, the way that white nationalist supremacist Christians are navigating, it would be so interesting too, right? If we could say, oh, you believe this and I believe this. Great. Multiple ideas and identities get to exist and blossom. If you look at a jungle, think about how many different networks are at play existing in harmony and balance and tandem. Millions of lives, probably more than
Right.
millions of sentient beings exploding at all times. So for me to say, not only do I not believe that tree over there, but I'm going to cut it down because I don't believe in it.
Right.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like to match my belief of it not
To
being
to
there, to
to
match
to
my
get
belief of
something
not
to,
believing
yeah.
in this.
I
Yeah, I'm gonna remove
think
the
to
thing.
say, yeah, I think to say this doesn't exist, and then for that to be true, you have to erase it. that's a really weak belief, baby. Um,
Hmm.
and it just doesn't hold, you know? It doesn't match, it doesn't hold, it doesn't make sense. And that's again my sort of like, dude, what the hell? You
Yeah.
know? Like that is when I do have moments of like I see the depravity of the human spirit is this unwillingness to meet, because it's also hilarious to me because like Christianity is, on these foundations of like love thy neighbor,
Yeah.
treat yourself as you would treat others, like all these things. And it's just been warped, so warped to fit the needs of ogliarchs. Is that how you say the word?
Mm.
Like these overlords that desire nothing more than. I saw a post today saying that, like, you know, all these national park workers are being laid off, and now the Trump administration is wanting to use oil rigging in national parks.
Yeah.
And you're trying to tell me this is about trans rights? You're trying to tell me this is because trans people exist? This is money and greed, and that's all it is. And I'm
Yep.
tired of people
And
lying.
power.
And power,
Yeah,
you
totally.
know?
Well, it's interesting to if you think about things kind of in like in a symbolic way, or just like looking at it like bigger picture, like think
Hmm.
about like the colonizers who came to America in the first place
Hmm.
and like came over and like really decimated a people who were connected to the land, connected to the
Hmm.
earth, and like all over the world, right? Like so many different places, like people going
Hmm.
over and colonizing and like just claiming things as their own, like this is my land now, like I'm here
Yeah.
now, like this is mine, like that kind of spirit. And the Native Americans were like, the white man has like an evil spirit, like the devil, if we're like
Hmm.
using the word
Hmm.
again, like it's like this evil spirit, right? And I'm
Yeah.
like, like not even to be like it's white people or black people or like native, it's like not to put it on like
Yeah.
one group of people, but like there
Yeah.
is something to that energy of like, you know what you're talking about, like
Yeah.
greed, power,
Yes.
money,
Yes.
like
Hmm.
what, like yeah, it's really interesting. I think about this sometime as well.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's so horrific, I guess.
Hmm.
And it's so insidious. And I guess my kind of like my grounding force is like just gonna be as myself as possible, like so that I can remind myself I exist. And that's a
Hmm.
really powerful, beautiful thing. And then my favorite thing in the whole world right now is like when I get fans and people messaging me about my music or about my lyrics or about things. And 9 times out of 10, my fan base are these like really sensitive, most likely neurodivergent, maybe autistic, maybe ADHD, maybe, have a real struggle with fitting in with the mainstream society.
Hmm.
And they say the kindest things. And that reminds me that what I'm doing matters. What I'm doing is
Yeah.
important. What I'm doing is actually creating an alternate universe, an alternate world in which we can communicate to each other in a loving, um, gentle way. And that feels like really radical in like the
Yeah.
face of depravity, you know?
100%. The reason why I
Yeah.
started this show is because just being online and like seeing so many like queer creatives and like queer
Hmm.
people creating shit, like if you think
Hmm.
about this energy that we're talking about, like they want to get us
Hmm.
out of here, right? Like why is there this
Yeah.
huge battle against queer people, gay
Yeah.
people, trans people? Why is there this huge battle? It's because like we have something special to us, and like
Yeah.
when we are standing in our own power and we're
Hmm.
radiating, like that
Hmm.
disrupts that other bullshit that's happening. Do you
Hmm.
know? Like I really feel like we're like magical almost.
Well, and I read this really beautiful book about a year or two ago called Notes on Complexity, and it's
Hmm.
from like a friend slash like daddy lover that he'll remain nameless for now just because I didn't get permission to talk about him, but he's a really incredible doctor and scientist, and he wrote this book about queerness as a necessity for all sentient life.
Yeah.
And kind of going beyond just being like a cocksucker, you know, or a lesbian, or and I'm being,
Yeah,
I'm being
yeah, yeah.
sincere.
No,
It's
no,
it's like
yeah,
bigger than just like being like a faggot. I don't know if I can say
yeah,
that. Can I say that?
yeah. You can say whatever.
Okay, okay. It's bigger than being a faggot. It's like actually talking about how, like, okay, if you look at a really good example, a network of ants, you have
Mm-hmm.
this very complex, very specific system that everyone in this society has a function to serve the society, to maintain the society. But guess what? You need outliers, meaning
Yeah,
you need that one ant that goes, huh, everyone is walking in a line. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to
yeah,
go do that. And then guess what that ant does? Finds a new food source. And then guess what? That brings up the whole society.
yeah.
And that is life because it is
But
changing,
the powers
you
that
know?
be don't want that. Like going back to what I was saying too, it's like that's
Yeah.
like those disruptors, be it
Yeah.
queer people, whatever, like women, whoever is like
Yeah.
thinking outside of that kind of construct, like they don't want
Yeah.
that shit because that's gonna be what fucks up their power. I'm doing for people who are listening, I'm doing
Mhm.
figure quotes, power.
Mhm.
Like it's just like we are fucking up all of that because we're branching
Yeah.
out and going in the other directions and finding the new food source, as you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what it totally it is a new like food source or way of being, and like something that I had like a really beautiful conversation with my mom last summer, and it was about polyamory. And
Mm,
that was really fascinating because again, she's like a, middle-aged white woman,
mm-hmm.
and she does not understand anything other than monogamy.
Right.
And
Yeah.
actually, when I've made jokes about monogamy, she takes it very personally and gets really upset and angry and hurt. To the point
Mm-hmm.
where we've had to have some conversations where I have to clarify and say, "Hey, mom, I'm not attacking you. I would never dream to insult you or insult your way of life. I'm just saying there's another way.
Yeah.
Yours is not the only one." And it's interesting because, again, like as queer people, we get to choose our family now.
Yeah. Right.
As queer people, I do feel like we're constantly having to come out again and again and again.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe it's like you're gay and then you discover you're bi, or you discover you're or you discover you're trans, or you discover
Yeah.
you're poly, or you're open. There's all these layers when it's like, can't we just exist? And
Yeah.
that's for me to know. But I had this. Oh, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, like, going back to like what you were saying when you came out, about people asking about like what you're
Oh
into, like,
yeah,
are you the top, are you
yeah.
the bottom? It's like that same thing, like all over again,
Well,
like
it's like I
cycles,
didn't even
huh?
know I was fucking 17.
Yeah.
I'm 29 and I'm still figuring things out.
Yeah.
And so it's that weird sort of like, give us an answer now because we have to know so we can label it so we can understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And something that I found really going back to this, just because I wanted to share this conversation I had with my mom. I was visiting Seattle for a cousin's wedding, and after the wedding, we had like a family camping in a cabin, and I was sitting with my mom having a drink on the river, and she was like, "So tell me about this. Like, I don't get it. I see you kissing all these different people all the time. You know, talk to me about this." And I was like, "Mom, like, I don't even really get it, and but I'm happy."
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't really need my relationships to make sense to you. I just want you to know I'm happy. And she was so sweet because she was like, I don't care really. I just want you to be happy and I hope you're happy. And that was such a beautiful moment of understanding because I think we forget that we don't actually need to understand each other.
Yeah.
Like I don't actually need to understand you or your sexuality or your life or your choices to love you and give you support.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there's this idea that, like, in order for me to support you and love you, I have to understand you. I have to be able to figure you out. And that's simply not true. So that was a really powerful moment for me, and was really beautiful to share because it felt like me standing my ground and saying, guess what? My answer is, I don't really know. and that's okay. And I think
Yeah.
that that actually brought us closer, um, because it was just a moment of honesty. And that's really, again, tying into my music. I write, all my songs are like super personal, They're all about actual experiences that I've had or I'm having, or me trying to figure out a situation. And to sort of step into that role and say, like, hey, I don't really know what I'm doing, but here's what's going on, and I'm doing my best. And maybe someone else is going through this too, and let me put it in a song and try to ease the heaviness of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of been my goal.
Well, I feel like with capping it right there, let's jump into
Yeah.
our first break. And then when we come back from
Yes.
the break, I want to talk more about your music. I want to talk
Yeah.
about, you know, experiences that have led
Mm.
to song creation, just kind of your process, all of that, your albums, everything.
Yeah. I'm excited. Yeah.
uh,
I'm
yeah.
gonna say one thing. A funny thing that is involved in my songwriting process at times is poppers.
Okay. Oh, you do poppers when you're writing music?
No, it's more like I'm one who enjoys to pleasure myself, as many a person does.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I will use the aid of poppers. And sometimes when you're in this, for lack of a better word, goon
When you're
state,
gooning. Yeah.
a melody can come out in your
Oh.
head because you're in this sort of altered state of mind. And I've had some really fucking weird moments where I can actually hear a melody as if someone's in the room with me.
Uh-huh.
And the only way to get rid of that is to actually sing it.
Okay, well, all of that and more when we're back from this first break. This For this first break, we're gonna play my song. It's the Blackout remix, Boris Jellick and Markus X from my project Heaven's Gate, the Deluxe Edition. We will be right back with you. I can't remember anything right now. All right. Were you just taking a hit of poppers?
No, I was actually doing a little yoga. My hips were feeling it, but I should have done it like poppers.
I thought you were over there like you were about
That
to
would
get
be
in the zone
very
and come up with a
well.
melody for us.
Yeah, I think that I would probably just fall over though.
Well, you're sitting, aren't you?
I
Are you? You're
I am
seated.
seated. I am seated. I'm sat. I'm
You're
sitting. I'm
sat.
sat.
All right.
I'm sat.
So let's talk about music. So, okay,
Okay.
so to give a quick recap, just so we
Yeah.
have some sort of like timeline here for people who are listening in.
Mhm.
So you started with dance.
Yeah.
Eventually, like you transitioned into resident performer of your family, you and your sister singing and
Yeah.
performing. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
when did you, so you said that you started
Mhm.
songwriting at 11.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
when then did you transition all of that creative energy into being like,
Mhm.
I am an artist, I'm a singer, like I'm going to the studio or I'm recording
Mhm.
myself? When did that all come to be? When was Trev Handsome born in all of this?
I think I actually remember because it was sort of this, again, like music for me is like a very, it started as an internal seed and then
Mm.
became this very like spiritual practice for me. And I remember I read this book called Song of Achilles. It's about the myth of Achilles and Patroclus in Greek mythology. And so often through Hollywood, through cinema, through many different avenues, this story is retold as a very like heterosexual love story, and that's simply not what it was. Patroclus and Achilles were like deeply in love with each other and had a very sexual and erotic romantic relationship. And
Mm.
this really amazing author, Madeline Miller, which I always find this lovely and interesting when a cis woman writes really good gay fiction. I'm always very fascinated about that because I'm like, how does this, and I guess maybe this is a testament to the connection of the gay man and the woman, because
Yeah.
we have a very spiritual connection that. Um, so anyway, I finished reading this book, and I literally closed the book, and I just heard, I'm just going to play a little bit. This song ended up on my first album, but
Mm.
I just heard this like descending line. I just heard that do 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 do, and then I was like, oh, okay. And so I had GarageBand on my phone, so I was
Yeah.
like, that's something. That is like a hook. There's something there, and so I put that down, and then I was thinking, okay, um, if it was like, oh, Achilles, they say you kill me. And I was like, oh, because that's kind of what happened. Like in this tale, I was imagining I'm Patroclus and I'm in love with this god, this like amazing man, and I'm talking to the muses and or
Yeah.
the fates, and they're like, boy, stay away from him. He will be your undoing. And because I'm the romantic, which is a huge theme on my first album, is the lover, the romantic. Um, I can't help it. I love him, but Daddy, I love him. You know,
Yeah.
like I really can't help it. Like I put the wound before the, or I put the Band-Aid before the wound. You know, like I have to love him.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then it just the whole song kind of came out, and I started investigating these themes within myself of loving someone because I always fall for the bad boy. I always date the guy that treats me like fucking garbage. And this was like a moment for me to really face that and use mythology and magic and these things to play with it and create a sort of soulful song out of it. So that's really Achilles was the first song where I felt like, oh, that's the birth of me as a musician. And then I didn't do anything with it for like a year or two. And at the time, I had met Travis Shantar, who's like this really
Yeah.
like you know
Amazing
Shantar,
photographer.
amazing
Yeah.
photographer. And I had just moved to New York, and he kind of took me under his wing and like basically showed me how to be pretty. If I'm gonna be honest,
Ah.
like, because I was like a small town boy that like you know I didn't really know how to be gay in the city. And he
Uh.
kind of showed me like it's okay to be pretty, because I
So
think
this
that
is
there
when you
is,
moved to New York. Just
yeah,
for like, okay, so
yeah. So
this
sorry
was
for
after.
context. Yeah,
Okay, okay. So you had moved to New York and then you met him,
yes,
and so then he kind of like took you under you were like working on you were may had made this first song,
yes,
the
yes.
Achilles song, right? And
And
then so then he okay.
so then he kind of took me under his wing, and in fact, I have a really incredible story about him. Was I got mugged, like
Oh no.
four guys came up and like punched me in the face, ripped out my earring, like beat me up,
Oh
like in the
no.
middle of the day in Brooklyn. I remember I was on my way to his house to hang out, and I go over and I just open the door, and he's like, "Girl, where have you been?" And I just start bawling because I just
Uh
had the shit beat out of me. And he like helped me file the police report because they stole my phone and all that horrible, horrible stuff. And then right right when I was like, this fucking sucks. This fucking sucks. It sucks because I hate interacting with the police. I hate the police system, but I
Yeah.
have a necessity to interact with it at this moment. It sucks because I realized these people that attacked me didn't do it out of malice. They did it out of desperation, or they did it out of um, lack of resource, maybe.
Hmm. Hmm.
Just hated the whole situation. And then Travis was like a fairy godmother to me and like cut my hair, painted my nails, spruced me up. We went out dancing. And it was like,
Hmm.
that's a really special person to do that for you. Like, not
Yeah.
only give you space and room when you're down and out, but like, you know, give you a little boost of magic. And he actually was the one who said, Trevor, you need like you need like a name, for your Instagram. What about Trev Handsome? Because my last name is Hanson, and
Hmm.
everyone's always going, "Hey, handsome, what's up, handsome?" Blah blah blah. Hey, handsome. So I thought that's kind of cute. That works. And so he kind of, in a kind of beautiful way, like I like that I didn't choose my name. It was kind of a gift.
Yeah.
Um, and so then that was kind of the birth of that. And then about 2 years later, the continuation of the story, I had the song, I had the name. I moved into this new apartment, and the guy I moved in with, he did like musical theater, and he would like record covers of theater songs with this sound engineer. And he knew I was a singer, and he was like, Trevor, I think you should go book a studio session with this guy. And Jim Morgan, who records all my music and helps me produce it and helps me sound engineer and balance it all, he really gave me some space to like write a lot of shitty stuff and record a lot of
Oh.
shitty stuff, but also gave me room to write. And I remember my first studio session, because I'm a low income artist. Um, it was like $85 an hour, which for me is a lot. And I remember I recorded 2 songs in an hour. Like and that's how I work now, is like
Hmm.
I sit
Get them
home,
done.
write the song, and I do it in one take because that's as
Hmm.
much time as I have. So I'll do the piano, then I'll do the vocal run, and then if there's time, I'll do a couple harmony runs to lay the vocal track. And that's pretty much always how I write a song, is starts with the piano or the guitar, and then the words and music come, and then boom, we got to do it in one take because that's all the time and money I have.
Hmm.
Um, and so then that kind of, I got the song, I got the name, I got the recording studio, and then my friend Cole, I have been writing songs for like 3 years, or two or 3 years at this point, and recording them in the studio. And then I was like, okay, I got like 8 songs, 9 songs. I'm ready to put out an album. I'm ready to
Hmm.
like release this. And my friend Cole amazingly um, agreed to shoot the album cover. And last second, and this is always how it goes, last second, we're in the studio. I came in with my looks and my um, idea for the album artwork, and I gave him sort of like the color palette, the themes, sent him all the songs, talked about what it is I'm trying to express. And he goes, wait, here, just a second. He goes and grabs this like tiny little mirror and says, here,
Hmm.
just hold it right here over your chest. And then has like a flash and takes a picture so that it looks like this like shard of light is like exploding out of my chest.
Hmm.
And then we got the album cover for my first album, which was High Hopes.
Okay, so you moved to New York in
Yeah,
2019, you said,
yeah,
and then this project came out in 2022,
yeah,
correct?
yeah, yeah.
So in between, so like the pandemic happened, all of that, you were saying
Yeah.
that you had
Yeah.
seen pre-pandemic New York and then going through the
Yeah.
pandemic and then now. So were you working on all of this like throughout like 2020, 2021 then? Um
Yeah. Yeah. So
okay.
that was like I wrote my journey into New York was like I moved to New York, the pandemic happened, but before that happened, I got kicked out of my apartment
Mm,
and it was shady as fuck because I moved to this apartment and I was at that age, right, where like I knew that I could use my flirtation to get what I wanted. So I was kind of naively flirting with the guy that was getting me this housing.
yeah.
And then I realized very quickly, well, I'm not going to sleep with him because that's going to be super messy. But I was 23, 24, so I didn't have the proper awareness or communication skills to like communicate that to him. And I think once he realized I wasn't going to sleep with him, he got very angry at me because he got distant and then decided, okay, well, you're out. So told me I've been living there a month and he goes, you need to be out by at the latest January 1st.
No
I
ma'am.
had no money, no money. I just moved here. I really didn't even have a network of people yet, so I didn't have anyone I could like. I didn't know anyone that well enough yet that I could be like, hey, can I stay with you? Because I was literally like doing Broadway auditions, working like crazy, trying to go, like, I was just trying to put the pieces together.
Yeah.
And so I unfortunately had to move into this actual closet because it was 600 bucks a month and she wasn't asking for a deposit. And literally would knock on my door and say, hey, can I grab my coat?
Wild.
Like, it was a closet. It was a walk-in closet.
Yeah.
No window, air mattress. Um, and I remember when the pandemic hit, I'm laying in bed going, this is not great right now. And then I hear, tss, and the air mattress just deflates onto the floor. So I was just like, God damn it. But at that same time, I had this feeling of, I'm on the right path.
Yeah.
This is the right path because if it were the wrong path, it would be super fucking easy. And this is the right path because every great person I've ever read about goes through this shit. So I want to be great. So I have to go through this and I have to learn how to get through this.
Hmm.
Um, so
So
that was like a
this
whole
was
mess. And I was writing as this was all happening.
okay. So the first album then was birthed through like were you inspired then and drawing inspiration from all of these experiences and then like funneling that into the project because you had mentioned that you're when you're songwriting these are all like very personal.
Yeah, so it was born out of a place of like the album is called High Hopes, and it was me coming to New York, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and everything
Mhm.
just fucking fell apart.
Mhm.
And in sort of the worst way imaginable, because it would have been hard anyway, but like nobody foresaw the pandemic. Nobody fucking saw that coming. And then once we did, it was too late.
Yeah.
So it was sort of the track list is Hold Back, which is like, I wrote that song to my best friend as she was going through a breakup because the pandemic happened. She was having a love affair with this guy from Mexico. They
Mm.
couldn't travel. And then he cheated on her with someone who looked exactly like her.
Wild.
And it was sort of like my going, oh, baby, like, hold back. You're okay. You don't need that man. Hold
Mhm.
back. You got it. Achilles was about me just like going like, fuck, I just want to like love someone that's nice to me and I keep choosing these fucking assholes. And then in the absence of men was sort of a continuation of that feeling of like, oh, I want to be in love, but I want to be in love that doesn't feel um, toxic. I want to be in
Mhm.
love that feels supportive and hopeful and joyful. And I don't think I've ever felt that in my life. Because anytime I did feel it, I was bullied and put down because of it. So this was also, even though this was like running on themes between those 2 years, because that's when I was writing them, it was also, if you think about it, like 20 years. Because it was sort of this amalgamation of like all this heartache, all this pain that I just felt my whole life from every time I ever fell in love with a guy and I would try to express it, they would just shit all over me and say,
Mm.
I can't be your friend anymore because you're gay. Don't talk to me. Get away from me. And then the few chances of romantic reciprocation that I did have, these guys were like awful people. Or maybe they weren't awful, but they really did not treat me well. And
Mm.
I suffered a lot of abuse, physical, mental, emotional. So kind of making that album was like a fuck all you bitches. I'm
Mm.
great.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
and so that was sort of like such a it was such an incredible moment for me because I felt like I finally, through all the heartache, through all the pain, through all the abuse, through all the disrespect, I was able to make something that I thought was really beautiful
Hmm.
and that expressed a gay romantic perspective that I didn't feel like I was seeing.
Yeah. And so then I'm curious, moving forward from the
Yeah.
first album, the second album came out 2 years later. So
Yeah.
you were saying that for High Hopes, this is like the amalgamation of all of these 20 years, like getting, all of your
Yeah.
experiences pushed into that
Yeah.
project. So then for the
Yeah.
second album, Ultramarine,
Yeah.
where like were you like fine tuning some of the thoughts, or what was the inspiration into the second project?
On the second project, I like to work in terms of like um Bjork talks a lot about this. Her albums are sort of like tarot cards. They're like
Mm,
characters that represent 3, 4 years of a cycle in her life.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And so for me, the first album is High Hopes. It's this character that has this huge beam of light exploding out of his chest. He's kind of looking off longingly to a lover, to a friend, to an object of desire. The color palette is like gray and red, so it has this sort of like desire that's kind of muted. Ultramarine, the color palette is like blue. It's the
mm,
sky. It's okay, we got through that. Now what's this world I'm in? And I think part of kind of discovering that is also confronting ego. So a big part of this album is sort of kind of confronting myself because I feel like High Hopes also has a bit of like, ooh, poor me, because I was feeling that way. I was feeling roughed up and sad and fucked up. And so I think Ultramarine is honestly, it's my desire to find my spirituality, find my
mm,
salvation, find my hope, find something that's beyond romantic validation and like find myself. So these songs are, about sort of accepting and loving myself and finding joy in that and finding a little bit more magic and levity and in the production on the first album it's really bare bones. It's really just like me, piano, string arrangements, and some drums, but mostly voice and piano with like vocal harmony arrangements. And then Ultramarine is a lot more mystical. I was really proud of that album because I worked a lot more with doing production. Like I was like
mm,
on this song Light Years that's on the album. It was a love song to this beautiful boy from Colombia that I got too excited about, got too attached to, gripped a little bit too hard, and scared him away, as we do sometimes.
mm-hmm,
Um, and but in that, I found so much beauty because I learned a lesson. And so in it, there's like this moment of the I wanted to play with like time and how that sort of comes in and out. And when you're in love with someone and you feel the fireworks and you feel this sort of like amorphous connection, things get really like, whoa, what's happening? What's going on? So I like did that reverse engineer with the piano to kind of pull us into this world. And then there's this part where sort of the background noise of the cafe comes in because he and I would play chess. And I will tell you, I have never been more in love with a guy than like sitting him across from him, watching his brain work, figuring out, oh, okay, if I do this, if I do that, if I do this, I just fell in love with him. I was like, I think you're so beautiful because you have this subtlety about you. You have this intelligence about you. And the sex was just, it was incredible. So I really wanted to create a really sensual song that also admits my faults. You know, I have a line in the song that says, I know, I try too hard, I push too hard, everything's too hard, you know, because I get so excited. And because I come from a place of like lacking affection and love, I just fucking throw myself at it when it's available to me.
Mm.
And that was a moment to acknowledge that. So, in general, I think the tones of Ultramarine are self acceptance, facing the ego, kind of looking for spirituality, looking for your salvation. But you can't do that without accepting what's there. Because you can't say, oh, I hope I can transcend this moment without going, well, but this moment is not too bad. Here's what
Yeah.
we're dealing with. And I
Well,
wrote, yeah.
please continue.
Oh, I was just say I wrote this album was also very special because it kind of broke me out of the cycle of, as I said earlier, usually how I write a song is sit down at the piano, you know, it's very boom, boom, boom. And Ultramarine was very weird because I'm one of the songs is called Tides, and it was born out of this practice where I was spending a lot of time on Fire Island doing go-go dancing gigs and just going for fun. And this one time I had this kind of terrible acid trip with this guy I was dating, and I had this realization of like, oh fuck, like I could kind of be anybody. You don't actually care about me. You just like that I'm here, but you don't really care that it's
Right.
me. You just like
Right.
that someone's here to feed your ego. And kind of a healing balm of that was like I would walk on the beach by myself and I would sing the melody of this song called Tides. That's the last song on the album.
Mm.
Um, because I feel when I'm struggling, when I'm really feeling fucked up, the best thing to do is to go to the ocean and
Mm.
ask it the questions or put these troubles into the ocean. And I would even go during the summertime, I would go swimming in the ocean and I would lay and I would just sing the song as I was floating on the waves because I wanted it to really embody this feeling of the tides. I wanted it to embody this feeling of um, Oceania and expansiveness and spirituality. So I knew if my vocal tone was gonna hopefully express that on the record, I needed to have some deep healing spirit experiences in nature to bring that into this world. So it was like things like that where then like I wrote the melody and then I had this weird, do you know like what a Wurlitzer is? Like this kind of
Mm.
piano. It's sort of this like, you know, like in the 60s. So I mean, it's essentially going to be an electric piano. That's sort of the tone. So that's Tides. That's like the main
Mm-hmm.
riff. And I just wanted to create something that felt like a lullaby, felt like it was rocking you to sleep. And that was sort of separate from the melody. And then I realized that they were connected. And I realized that that
Mm.
was kind of where the song was going to be and where it was going to live. So it was kind of moments of that. And I, tapping back to what you said about asking me what my spirituality is or my relationship to God, this album was me finding God again.
Mm.
because I was so angry at God. I was so upset with God. And then I realized, like, that's just me being angry at myself,
Yeah.
you know? That's
Yeah.
not really, that's just me having self-loathing. And why am I having self-loathing? Because I'm not treating myself very good,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
so maybe if I treat myself a little bit better, maybe I won't hate myself so much. Honey.
Uh, baby. Okay, so here shortly shortly we're gonna play a song from the second album
Yeah.
called Chasers.
Yes.
Chasers. Chasers.
Yes. Yes.
Chasers. Hold on, I'm like
Mhm.
Chaser.
Mhm.
We're gonna
Mhm.
play a song here in a moment called Chaser. I was like, I feel like
Chasers.
I have it without looking down, and I was like, I guess I don't have it. But before
Chasers.
we jump into the second break and play Chaser, I am
Mhm.
curious, um, as you like going back to what you were saying about the tarot cards of each album.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now this last project Ultramarine came out this last year, which would mean that you're in between cycles right now.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so are you already starting to brainstorm kind of what you're looking to create next, or right now
Mhm.
are you focused just purely on being in the experience of Ultramarine?
I'm trying to give myself a little bit of both. Like
Mm,
I know for both of these projects I didn't really wait. I was so like hungry to make and create. Lately these days I've really just been focusing on um doing what makes me feel good and what makes me feel happy and trying to spend as much time with people I care about as I can. Um and also heal from a breakup. So
mm,
I know I can't say it because I won't say, any too much about the next album. But I'm really excited to get to work on it. I think I do need to give myself a moment to enjoy because I'm not very good at doing that. Um
mm,
I really can just be like in the carriage whipping myself. I'm like driving the carriage, but I'm also like pulling the carriage. Um, so I think I want to give myself a moment, but I've already started working on it. It's one of those things where like I just can't help it. I'm always working.
yeah.
That's who I am. I'm never gonna not do that. Even when I say I need to take a break, what I really mean is like play some RuneScape for a little bit, or
Mm,
like play a video game, or like jerk off, or like go fuck a boy or something.
yeah.
Um, but I do have a pretty clear idea of what this next song cycle is going to be, and I'm really excited to start really shaping it. But I also really want to take my time on it, like, because I feel like Ultramarine felt like such a feat and such a fucking mountain and such an
Mm,
accomplishment, and I want the next one to outdo it. You know,
mm,
I want the next album to be like a masterpiece.
yeah.
Um, because I feel like I just get a little bit better every time, you know?
Yeah.
Like every time
Yeah.
I go, I get a little bit better at producing. I get a little bit better about writing. I get a little bit better about arranging. So I just want it to be like, I want to make a record that is sort of just like, oh, love that record. You
Yeah.
don't even really need to know about it. You don't need to know about the lyrical content or you don't even need to listen to it, but it's sort of oh, I just put this on, you know. Maybe it's even
Uh-huh.
background noise. Um, but I do really want to make something that can really speak to not just a queer audience, not just a gay audience, but like really transcend um to just speak to the human spirit, you know. Even though I am in this body as a gay man, as a gay person, I really just want to connect with anyone who has an open heart, you know.
Mm. Would you ever work on like a dance? Dun, 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 oh, dun,
Well, I
dun,
have
dun, dun,
like
dun, 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 dun.
so I have this one song. I have this one song called Sweet Talker, and that I actually worked on with the producer, and he did a lot of Kalela's earlier work, like cut for me.
Yeah. Ooh,
So
ooh,
that one is
I
like
love her.
love, 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 love. And I
So
met
good.
him through this really incredible. I was working as a backup dancer in a Perfume Genius music video, and I
Mm-hmm.
met him through that, and we ended up actually working at a music festival together on a music project where I was singing and he was playing synth. And I, asked him, "Hey, would you produce this song for me?" Because his music is incredible, and he worked with fucking Kalela, like legendary. And I, I wish I had had more time, because his rates were not something that were very easy for me to swing, but I made it
Sure.
happen. Um, but I would like to explore it. Yes, to answer that question, I would love to explore a dancier side of myself,
Mm-hmm.
and work with producers that can bring that out of me because I think that's something that is inside of me for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Even if it's not like the whole album, like just maybe a couple,
Even
like
a track,
a few,
and
yeah,
even
even single, like
yeah,
just
a
one.
track,
But like
a
I can
single,
see it.
yeah,
My psychic powers,
yeah,
zoom, I can see it.
yeah.
I really
I
can.
mean, I've been practicing writing in that way more. Like I was listening a
Uh-huh.
lot to I want to write something like "Take Care" by Drake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like something
yeah.
that's like that, or something that's very like Leaky Lee's like Late Night Feelings, that track she made with
Mm-hmm.
Mark Ronson. Like I would love
Sure.
to make something like that, but I just know I'm very limited in terms of production on what I know how to do. So I think I need to meet some people that are willing to take a chance on me, if that makes
Well, the
sense.
beauty, yeah, I mean, and like the beautiful thing also is that you do live in New York. So it's like you're
Yeah.
surrounded by creatives, and it's like, if
Yeah.
you're out like gigging and whatnot, like who knows, like who you'll run into, who you'll meet. And I feel like everything doesn't always have to be about like money as well. Like if somebody can see the vision,
Mm,
then,
mm, mm.
hey, like let's work on some shit. Like I'm hungry, like, if they can see it, like see what you're doing and appreciate that, like like sometimes people are just like
Mhm.
want to just like create some shit. Like it doesn't even have to be like
And
transactional in that kind of way.
no, totally. And that's kind of, I feel like I'm at this point, kind of, I guess, to answer your question in a more succinct way, I'm kind of at this point of like, I'm just waiting.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the right producers, I'm waiting for the right collaborations because I think I've been underplaying my value a lot. I
Mm-hmm.
think I've been underplaying my worth a lot. And so now that I've awoken, and Ultramarine helped me do this, now that I've awoken to my potential,
Mm-hmm.
I want to get to work. You know,
Okay.
I want to get to work on it. Yeah,
Well, I
yeah,
definitely can't wait to see it, and I know that everybody who's listening can't wait to see it as well. Do you want to
yeah.
intro Chaser for us, and if you want to talk a little bit about the song,
So,
and then lead us into
yeah,
the second break?
so when this is like a staple at my live shows. Like I always include this in my sets, whether it's on piano or if it's a produced track version of it. And I
Mm-hmm.
always like to introduce it as I'll get up on stage and I'll go, "So, have you guys ever thought you had two boyfriends, only to realize you have zero boyfriends?" And it's funny because a lot of people really respond to that. They're like, "Yes, of course. Like, yes, I thought I was dating this guy, or I thought I was dating this girl, or I thought I was dating this
Yeah.
person, and it turns out we were nothing in their eyes." And so I had a particular night, and I'll keep this quick, but I had a particular night where I thought I was dating two guys, and I was excited for them to meet each other. And then I went to the club that night, and they both left with other people.
Uh-huh.
And it was like soul crushing. It was like so sad because I was entering the night thinking oh my gosh, um not only do I have love, but I have like this really big amorphous expansive love with multiple people, and now they're going to meet each other, and maybe, who knows, it could be a throuple, or it could just be this like beautiful string of love. And it
Mm-hmm.
was so far from that. It was the exact opposite of that. So then
Yeah.
I went home and I wrote this song.
Okay. Well, just like that, this is Chaser by Trev Handsome. I love your dance on Instagram. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah, 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 yeah. Hey. Every day,
It's like kind of thriller.
I chase after men that just want to be chased. Every day I erase my thoughts and memories of what I've made. And do I like it? Do I like it? Why do I like it? Why? Every day I change. All right, that was a little preview of Chaser by Trev Handsome. Where do you push
Yeah.
people to usually? Are you like listen on Spotify, listen on Apple Music? What is your where
Yeah,
do you push people?
I mean, my ultimate goal is to push them to Bandcamp because if you go to
Okay.
Bandcamp, then you can buy the record, and then if you buy
Yeah.
the record, I can continue to make rent. You know?
Okay.
So that's my ultimate goal, but I also understand like not everyone has the resource, time, money, whatever. So I'm honestly just honored that you're taking the time to listen to my work anyway. So, you know, I'm on Apple Music, Bandcamp, Spotify, um, TikTok, you know.
Yeah, everywhere.
Honestly, at this point, it's kind of like I love it so much. I really don't care if I'm making money on it because I just have to do it.
Yeah.
But of course, that's the goal, is to quit our day jobs and be full-time spirits that we are. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, at this point, it's like, I just listen, please. Any way
Yeah.
you can.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, this last segment is a
Mhm.
segment that I like to call X Marks the Spot. For those of you
Mhm.
who are listening, and for you, Trev, if you're not familiar, this is
Yeah.
a segment
Yeah.
where listeners of the show write us questions. Maybe they ask us
Oh
for
my
advice.
goodness.
I
Yeah.
know. Maybe they tell us a juicy story.
Yeah.
And if you are listening and you would like to participate in that for a future episode, the number
Mhm.
for that is 415-448-6630. Go ahead and leave me a voicemail, send a text message, whatever you want. Just tell us a story, ask us for advice, whatever. Ask a question, whatever you want. Are you
Mhm.
ready?
I'm very ready.
Okay. We'll start light. Somebody asks, what is your biggest, brightest dream for the future?
Whoa. Do you think that's like a person? Well, that's a great question.
Whoa.
I guess I'm curious, is that like a personal biggest brightest dream, or is this like a
It-
dream for the world, dream for the
it's
earth? I
whatever.
feel like,
Well, it's whatever you, however you interpret it.
actually, you know what? My biggest brightest dream is to live a life in which I can take care of all the people that I care about.
Hmm.
Um, whether that is financially support them, emotionally support them, sexually support them.
Hey.
You know, like really my biggest brightest dream is like I would love to just have like a big gay house of love where we just all
Hmm.
hang out and make art and make work and support each other and um, heal and grow together, um, and continue to learn how to be ourselves. Um, that I think is my biggest brightest dream, is to just have that love.
Hmm. Hmm.
Mhm.
For me, I feel like it would be, gosh, I mean, you kind of already touched base on it, like living off of artistic endeavors is definitely a big one for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Mm-hmm.
think even beyond, I guess it's like hand in hand. Like for me, it's like really to like build something and then be able to support
Yeah.
myself for the rest of my
Yeah.
life off of the thing that I build and like be able to run the
Yeah.
shit myself, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
to have financial freedom based off of like my own creation. So I think that
Mm-hmm.
would be like my biggest and brightest dream, at least if we're talking like creatively. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Somebody asks, have you ever experienced a glow up or have you always been hot?
That is very, very nice. That's very, very nice. I mean, I'll say this, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So if you are perceiving something, I'm just a mirror, you know? I'm just a mirror of the beauty you already have. That being said, I do feel like I'm going through a glow up right now
Hey.
because I just got out of a relationship that was really doing a number on my self-esteem, and um I feel like I can finally kind of focus on getting things done the way I need to get it done. And I feel like fucking powerful right now. I feel really
Hmm.
good.
Hmm. Love that. That's a great energy
Yeah.
to be in and to operate
Yes.
within. And I feel like when
Yeah.
you're creating your next project too, it's going to be like if you're tapping into like that power, woo.
Mm. Yeah.
Ah.
I'm so excited for it. Yeah. You.
Uh, I feel like I'm constantly experiencing a glow up, to be honest with you. Like I feel like the older I've gotten, like the more
The bigger the glow.
yeah, like honestly though, like I don't even know how else to put
Yeah.
it. Like I feel like the older I've gotten, like I feel like I get like better looking the
Yeah.
older
Yeah.
the older that I
Why
get.
not? Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just like maybe it is like a confidence that comes with it as
Yeah.
well, or it's
Yeah.
just like figuring out like, oh, these things look good or these things don't look good, like even like physically, like dressing or like how I put
Mm,
myself
mm,
together, you know. um but also yeah, yeah, I would say yes, I've experienced a glow up for sure.
mm, mm.
Okay, somebody asks, what is an automatic red flag for you in a relationship?
Oh my God. Someone's reaction when you set a boundary. If
Hmm.
if I say that hurts my feelings and your response is you're too sensitive, that's a
Mm-hmm.
red fucking flag. That is
Yeah.
a red flag. Walk away. Walk away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I say that from experience. Walk
Mm-hmm.
away.
Yeah. Yikes. Um. Yeah. Mine would probably be like a lack of emotional intelligence. I feel like that's like something you can kind of like
That's
see,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
probably early on, maybe even before you're like in a relationship. But I guess like a
Mm,
relationship can be like a friendship. It can be
mm,
dating. It could be like whatever, I guess,
mm,
right? But yeah, I
mm,
would say
mm,
like I'm a very observant person, and if I start to
mm,
notice like somebody just lacks like emotional intelligence, that's like a big red flag for me where I'm like,
mm,
ooh, maybe this isn't somebody that I trust my
mm,
sensitivity and my spirit to be like intertwined with.
mm, mm. That's
So
beautiful.
yeah,
That's
well,
important. Yeah.
it's not when you're it's not when you're interacting with somebody who's maybe lacking in that department.
Mhm.
Okay, somebody says, would you ever do something strange for a little change?
Honey, that is how I make my living.
Uh,
I I have done some weird things for money. Um, at this
any
point in my life,
stories for us? Anything you care to
well,
share?
okay, I mean, this is funny. Like recently, I got paid to be like a stripper pizza guy at someone's 50th birthday. That
Amazing.
was hilarious, and I've never done something like that before. And it was literally like I walked in, there was this person having a birthday party. It was like 2 weeks ago. I walk in, I have a box of pizza, and I go, I heard it's someone's birthday today, and I did like a strip tease to Gimme 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 a Man After Midnight by ABBA.
Oh, okay.
And that was like really hilarious, but also like I'm trying to think, I've done some weird shit for money. Um Ooh, what? I might have to come back to you on that, but like, yeah, I'm definitely open to doing like weird stuff for money, mainly because I love a good story,
Hmm.
and I love when I'm like my friends text me and they're like, "What are you doing right now?" And I'm like, "Girl,
Ah,
I
like
wish
I'll
I
tell
could
you
tell
about it
you.
tomorrow. Yeah.
I'll tell you about it tomorrow." Just like the weirdest thing. I mean, I guess also like doing like I have some experience doing dom work on
Yeah.
people, and that is really fun and really um fascinating because I have this one person I've had some dom experiences with, and he enjoys when I use these like massive dildos on him,
Uh-huh.
and he likes me to degrade him, like verbal degradation, which I'm not
Love
necessarily
that.
into, but it's a really fun practice to open up into
Yeah.
because in all of us humans, we contain love, joy, kindness, peace, but we also contain violence, um, anger, contempt, resentment, aggression. You know, wherever there's a stone, there's also a shadow.
Uh-huh.
So we have all these things in us, and I think um, you got to exercise them or else they will consume you.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy doing dom work because I really like exercising that aggression out of me in a way that's
Mhm.
safe and healthy and also beneficial to other people. Because
Yeah.
this guy in particular fucking loves it when I call him a faggot, you know? So, to
Yeah.
answer your question, yeah, I'll do some weird shit for money.
Yeah. um, have I ever done something strange or a little strange? Yes. And if there's I feel like it's not change though. Like I understand like the terminology, but like I'm also
Oh no, this
down
is
to do
not
something for
change.
no, we're not doing it for
This is
change. This is
coins.
for yeah, for some money. Okay.
This is
Yeah, but yes, been there
fucking
and
mama
definitely
money,
yeah.
money.
I feel like for me now though, like I'm like it would depend on like what it is and like how much money we're talking
Mhm.
to. Cause like now I'm like
Yeah.
maybe like in a little bit different of a position like in my life like currently. Like not even to be
Mhm.
like oh I
Mhm.
higher or lower. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not saying it like
Mhm.
that, but just
It's
like
just
right now
different.
for me, yeah, it's just a
Yeah.
different experience for me where I'm like, like do I guess I suppose now I feel less interested in like entertaining things like that, you
Mm.
know? But like if the price was right, it's a different conversation too.
Mhm.
So I'm like,
And I
hey,
think
it's
that's also kind of like a shift of like I think in your early 20s you're like, yeah, you say yes to everything because you think you need to or
yeah,
you want to have these experiences. And then once you kind of pass that and you see how things are, it's nice to be more selective.
uh-huh, uh-huh, I
So I
agree.
see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody asks, they said, hey there, do y'all believe in any conspiracy theories?
I mean, I have some conspiracy theories that are like pretty weird. But
Anything that you care to share with us?
I have this one that is this is gonna sound so crazy. I'll probably sound schizophrenic for saying this, but like I have this theory. It's not that crazy. I just have this theory that all mythology or sci-fi or whatever that humans
Yeah.
write is actually real and is
Uh-huh.
happening in a universe somewhere far away.
Yeah.
And when we tap into creativity, maybe that's just us like tapping into some like transmissions and wavelengths of the
Something
subterranean
else.
mind that can connect to universes light years away. So like things like Lord of the Rings are actually happening somewhere out there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's not a conspiracy theory. Maybe that's just me being a weirdo.
Yeah, I mean it's like it's not like really like a conspiracy. It's just more of a theory.
No. I don't
Not
know.
so much
Like,
conspiracy
what?
though.
Oh, have you heard the conspiracy theory that like birds are not real? They're all robots.
Yes. Yes.
I don't agree with that, but I've heard it.
No. Yeah, I'm
I
right
don't
there with
really,
you on
I
that
don't
one.
really, I don't really believe in any conspiracy theories because I think that what's happening in reality is enough to, um, I don't know. Like why would there be a need for a conspiracy theory when there's already like so much rotten shit happening?
I know. Well, I mean, to go back to your original theory, though, I kind of believe, I do believe in like a similar way where it's like
Mhm.
if the universe as we know it is infinite, then
Yeah.
that leave if there's infinity, like which I feel like our
Mhm.
brains can't even comprehend, then everything
Mhm.
has to be in existence at some point. But I also believe that it's not I don't believe that time and space as we know it is how we understand it and with our current
Mhm.
understanding. I think that everything
Mhm.
could exist in the
Mhm.
present moment, and our consciousness
Mhm.
is just tuned into a way in this reality that we're like making like this moment and this moment and this moment and this moment. But I feel like everything
Mhm. Mhm.
exists all at once, like in one point, and it's just we're just
I like that.
our consciousness is just tuned into this reality of like this life for whatever reason that may be.
I like that. I agree with that.
Mm. Yeah, but for conspiracy theories, oh, I love them. Honestly, like I
Mhm.
love a good conspiracy theory. One of my good homegirls was just at the Denver airport, and they have a bunch of
Mhm.
conspiracy theories about the airport. And like, do you
Mhm.
know about that? The blue horse at the Denver airport.
No.
Okay, so there's a bunch of conspiracy surrounding the airport in general, as I was just saying. But that blue horse, I guess the artist who created it, like when they were
Mhm.
putting it in or something, like everybody was like, "Oh, this is demonic. It has like red eyes, like whatever, whatever."
Mhm.
And then why was when they were installing it, the person who created this blue statue, this blue horse, I think part of it came off or something, and it pinned him down to the ground and like sliced one of his arteries, and he like bled out before people could help him. And so it's like fully like a cursed thing. So I'm like, maybe there's something there. I don't know. Maybe there's something there.
That's really intense. I
Yeah.
like it though.
Yeah. Yeah. I love a good conspiracy theory. And I also feel like us as humans, like we don't know shit, and so like it always
Mhm.
feels
Mhm.
arrogant when people feel like they have everything figured out. So like I'm always more prone to believe something to be true, like even if it's like off
Mhm.
the wall, like crazy batshit cuckoo whatever, like I'm like, okay, like that's a possibility. Because it's like
I
we don't
mean,
fucking know anything.
also like more so not like necessarily conspiracy theory, but like sometimes I feel like you bring something up and people will think that sounds like a conspiracy theory, but I was watching like this could be considered a conspiracy theory, but I think it's real. I was watching this documentary about fundamentalist Mormons in Utah,
Mm,
and it was talking about how, our government keeps saying like, "Oh, we need to keep people in Mexico because of sex trafficking and blah blah blah." Think about
yeah.
this. All these like Mormon fundamentalists that are hired off the books by companies like Walmart or Amazon to build factories
Mm,
are that is sex trafficking because they are using these women that do not have agency, that do not get to say yes or no to marrying, and to men that will have multiple wives. um that is sex trafficking, and that's right
yeah.
behind our own borders. And I just think that like it's conspiracy theory is funny to me because like I think the real conspiracy is like we have these conspiracies that like trans people are making our eggs expensive, or like, you know what I mean? Like it's so funny to me because like the conspiracies that are taught to us, I remember even being like in elementary school being taught about like Chinese brainwash during communist China and just thinking
Yeah.
like, but that's happening here and no one relate no, everyone was like, what are you talking about, Trevor? I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? What are you
Yeah.
looking at? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's the call is coming from inside the house, girl.
Fully, I mean, not even 100 years ago, and maybe still to this day, they were doing
Mm-hmm.
fucking like mind control experiments. The government, our government, was doing mind control experiments like on our U.S. citizens, like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they weirder things have definitely happened, huh?
Absolutely.
Okay, somebody says, "Hello, I'm curious to start an OnlyFans, but scared that
Yeah.
somebody who I know might find out."
And
Right. Right.
sorry, but okay. Oh, here's what I have to say to that. Do you have sex? Do people know you have sex? What's the difference between having sex on camera and as opposed to not on camera? And I think if we're going to be honest, we keep, talking these neoliberal ideas about pushing the country forward, but if everyone's too afraid to accept that and be okay with admitting ourselves as sexually fluid and open beings that have sex, like,
Yeah.
how the fuck do you think we got here? We had sex to get here. And I'm so fucking tired of like these like Stone Age beliefs about sex. So like, you know what? I don't give a fuck if someone knows I have sex. I have a lot of sex, and sometimes I do it
Yeah.
on camera.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was really aggressive. I didn't mean to sound so aggressive. I'm just so annoyed.
Trev said, "Bust that pussy open on camera, bitch." Open it wide. From open, them legs are about to
Gush.
be spread from sea to shining sea.
I said gush.
Huh. Yeah, I would say, I mean, I don't really know if I have much to add to it, but it's just like, I don't know. I mean, if it's really something that's
I
that's
sounded
that
like
scary.
so angry when I said that.
Well,
But I don't give a
you
fuck.
had to let them know. Yeah.
So what? Sorry
Uh
to whoever asked that question. I don't mean to put anger towards you. That was, it's not about you. It's about me.
uh, I would just say, like, if it's something that you're really that concerned about, or like if it makes you feel uncomfortable at all, maybe
Yeah,
come up
don't
with
do it.
come up with an, oh no, I was gonna say come up with an alter ego.
Oh,
Like, be like,
that's really
oh,
smart.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, ooh, this is, you know,
Mm.
Chantal Divine or something. I don't fucking know. That was
Yeah.
like a drag
Yeah.
name more so.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like just come up
Mhm.
with like, get your good outfits together for it, like create like a new
Mhm.
identity, like a new persona, and
Mhm.
like build
Mhm.
world build inside of that. Like this is your opportunity
Mhm.
to create like a new identity. Like maybe this person, whoever it is, like maybe they're like the slut bottom that you've always dreamed to be, and when you're that
Mhm.
person, when you're Dick's rider, you can be that person, that
That's really good.
identity.
That's
Yeah.
really good.
It came to me
Dick's
eventually.
Rider.
Yeah.
I thought of one. I almost don't want to say this out loud because you know what?
Just in
I'm not
case.
using it. So someone can use it, but Max Trade. I
Oh,
think that's kind
Max
of cute.
Trade.
Maybe it's not
Yeah.
as good as I thought it was. So whoever heard that can take it. But I
We'll
thought that
probably,
was
if
kind
we
of cute.
Google it, there's probably somebody who has it already. I feel
Max
like
Trade,
Max Trade.
Maximum Trade,
Oh
Maximum
my.
Trade, Max Trade. I just
They
thought I
got,
don't know because I
do they like, who is Max Trade? If you were to picture it in your mind, like what are they giving?
I'll show you what they're giving. I have
Oh,
a vintage. It's not explicit, but I have a vintage porn magazine. Um, I feel like it'd be like something of like this, just like you
yeah.
know, just like Max
Like
Trade.
90s, like early thousands, like muscle tees, muscle
Yeah,
trade. Yeah, I have a shit ton of
just
vintage
like
porn magazines too. Also, I don't know if you
yeah.
can see it. Can you see over here? I should just get one for
I
you so you can
can't.
see it because I think that you'll enjoy this. Give me 1 second. Hold on. Ugh. So uh, I was at a what are those like an antique store,
Hmm.
and I came across these. So there's one over here,
Hmm.
and then look.
Oh, love,
Yeah,
love,
yeah,
love,
yeah.
love,
These like
love.
vintage like 90s, like they're called Billy dolls. Billy
Hmm. Hmm.
dolls. And
Hmm.
there's like a whole, they're like this like vintage thing that I was like, I need these in my apartment.
I think one of my friends has a Billy doll. They're really
Yeah,
cute.
they're
I
so
should get a Billy
good.
doll.
You should get a
Yeah,
Billy doll.
I think
And
I think his has like a detachable penis too.
oh wow. Do you wish that
or
you had a
something.
detachable penis?
Um,
Or
I
do
wish
you
I
like
had
it to
two
be
dicks. I wish I had two dicks sometimes. Do you
like,
remember that Reddit guy, Diphallic dude? Did you see that
no?
Reddit guy? He has two dicks. Well, go after the interview, you should go Google Diphallic dude. He
Uh-huh.
was like this like Reddit guy from like early 2000s that has two fully functional penises.
Okay. Were they both like in the same spot, just like one on top of the other, side by side? It's
Yeah.
like it's too much. It's too
I
much.
mean, it would be
Like,
a lot.
cause like you
It would
can't
be a
use
lot.
both of them at the same time, right? Like
He
somebody would have to
did,
be.
yeah.
All right, I'll do research after this.
But also, here's the thing: is that I'm also like, is that real, or was it
Right.
just Photoshop?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. 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 I saw a show once where a woman had she always found it extremely painful to have sex, and she went to the
Mhm.
doctor, and they, after examining, they realized that she had two vaginal holes. So she was the divaginal woman or person.
Good for her.
Yeah.
That's
So
really that's intense though.
I think they had to like open it, like cut like in between to like make it one, because it was like
Um,
extremely painful because both of them were like two, they were both were tight.
whoa,
I know.
wow.
I know. The more you know.
The more you
All
know, the
right.
more you. Okay.
Somebody says, living in a small city in the South and been feeling
Mhm,
trapped, especially
mhm,
recently. All of
mhm,
my family is here, so I don't want to leave. Really unsure about what to do. Also, thanks for
mhm.
doing this show. It's been super helpful to
Oh,
hear queer conversations.
oh, that's beautiful. That's really
Yeah.
beautiful. Um, I I don't know if I have. That is hard. That is really hard because we are humans, and that means we are social beings. So we need community, we need people, we need connections. Um, we need that. So I guess I would just I don't know. I guess I would say like you will know what you need to do. Like um and that can look like a lot of different things. And just always remind yourself that there's never just one or two options. There's always more, just like, queer, ancestors before us. We always have way more choices than are being given to us.
Mm,
So don't be afraid to think out the box. Um, yeah, I think that's the best I got for that. But
hmm.
that's a very
Hmm.
sweet question.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for. I'm glad that the hearing queer conversations has been helpful for you. Um,
Mhm.
I would say that, yeah, I don't know. This one's tough because it's like,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
clearly, maybe if this person could just like up and dip out, it sounds like maybe family is important to them. Like all of their families there, they
Mhm.
were
Mhm.
saying. So it seems like they're kind of stuck between wanting to be
Mhm.
somewhere that's maybe more accepting, and then also,
Mhm.
you know, being close to their family. Maybe look at like maybe there are bigger cities nearby where you live, and like maybe you
Yeah.
could transition,
Yeah.
because usually in bigger cities it's more liberal.
Mhm.
Maybe you can
Mhm.
find more of like a community there.
Mhm.
So maybe look at that as an option as well.
Yeah. And also like, we have the resource of the internet. So there are, ways to connect, and maybe it looks like visiting a larger city when you can. I
Mm,
know like I don't know this person's financial situation, so I don't know how easy it would be to move or travel or what have you, but um yeah, I would look into like maybe some options of visiting a city, or like you said, like a place that's more accepting, even if you don't end up moving there. I have friends that live upstate, that come and stay with me, and crash
mm,
at my place in Brooklyn. And that kind of gives them a sense of community, is getting to come and touch base with the people in New York. Yeah.
well, we wish you luck moving forward. I just got something
Yeah.
like My throat, my throat. I don't know if you
Yeah.
saw, my eyes got all super watery. My throat got like
Mm.
super dry. I'm like, am I about to fucking
Well,
like?
it's been like 2 hours
I
of
know, I
chatting, which
know.
is great, but yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Mhm.
Let's do one more. We'll keep it
Cool.
easy. Somebody
Great.
made. I feel like this is like one that comes up every week. Somebody says cut or uncut. And I don't know if they're asking about the person or if they're asking
Mhm.
like preferences.
I'll answer both because I'm shameless.
Okay.
I'm cut. It's my one regret in life, but I didn't get an option. And I prefer uncut.
Hmm.
I am more of a bottom, so I don't know, I don't even need lube, especially if it's uncut. Like it can just slide right in. It's like a built-in, you know, helper.
Okay. Okay.
You
Extra
know,
skin
like
for the win.
yeah, I like a big uncut dick.
Okay, here you have it. For anybody who's been wondering. Um
They ask the question, is it cut or uncut? And I go, well,
yeah, let me tell you.
let me
Right.
tell you
Right,
exactly
right.
the girth, the size,
Yeah.
the shape, the
Uh
semen volume, all of
love
it.
it. That's what this segment's for.
Great.
For me, I really don't care either way. I'm cut personally, but I just don't like it. To me, it's I really don't care. Any which way. They're all dicks. You know, if I'm fucking around with somebody who
And
has a penis, like go off.
mhm. And also to say like, yeah, I, enjoy all shapes and sizes. However, I have learned recently I am a little bit of a size queen.
Hmm. Well,
And
okay, so like when you say, because everybody's idea of like what big is
yeah,
different, right? So like if you were to think in
I
inches,
feel
if you're
like
thinking,
8 inches is
okay,
big, you know.
not like 14,
I've done it.
huh?
I've been to
But
Brazil.
is that, but like, is that like too big, or is there no such thing? Does the limit not exist?
Oh my God, there's no such thing as too big. There's no such
Okay,
thing as too big. Because I also
but
come from like the mindset of like something I enjoy about sex is I like sometimes the extreme of it
yeah,
or the limit being pushed or the like it kind of I tap into this sort of like feral um mating ritual. This one time I was in Brazil in a sauna and this really hung guy was getting his dick sucked and then it was like Animal Planet. Another
oh
guy walks in. He has a bigger dick and this guy who was given like DL don't look at me while you suck my dick vibes
yeah.
sees this other guy walk in who has a bigger dick. He literally gets up, bends over, and just starts getting the shit fucked out of him. And it was the hottest thing I've ever seen.
Wait, so the guy who was getting his dick sucked, who was giving DL, he saw this other person come in with a bigger dick, and he just immediately just bent over.
Obeyed.
Wow, wow.
Obeyed.
What were you doing in the mix of all of this?
I literally just like walked in the room.
Oh, you had
I
just
was just
walked in,
like,
and then this all
I
rolled
had
out.
just like
This,
walked in and I was like watching this guy get his dick sucked that was given like like DL don't look at me while you're sucking my dick. I'm just here for the pleasure to immediately like I am the submissive bottom of all bottoms.
yeah,
And it was so hot. And I think it was so hot because they both are true, right? Because even if he is this DL guy that doesn't want emotional connection, he can also be the biggest power bottom
yeah, yeah,
and then
yeah,
go right on home to his girlfriend.
yeah.
And
It's
that's
not
so
this
hot.
or that. It's this and that.
Yeah, yeah,
Huh.
exactly.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right. Well, here you have it. This has been X marks the spot. Again, the number is 415-448-6630. If you want to leave us a voicemail, send a text, whatever, ask us for advice, tell us a story, all of that, questions for the future, to be featured on the show. Thank you so much for joining us today, Trev.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, this was so cute.
This was
Where I know we
amazing.
kind of already touched base on it, but
Yes.
could you just do a refresher? Where can people find you
Yes.
online, and anything that you want to plug
So
besides your
I
role?
am I'm Trev Handsome. You can find me on all streaming music platforms. And I have a new I have a new like demo project that's out. It's just me and acoustic. Oh my gosh, I keep picking me. Just me and vocal arrangements on acoustic guitar, very stripped back. It was sort of a side project while I was working on these two albums. I was also writing these guitar pieces. So that's out, free to stream, wherever. I have a gig if you're in New York. Wednesday. I don't know, when does this air, by the way? Maybe
This
it
will
won't
be
matter.
out. Yeah, this will be out in a few weeks, and so it won't
Okay.
matter.
Never mind,
Yeah.
never mind. But I'm around in New York. I'm doing gigs. And yeah, that's all I got.
Okay. And I am Markus X. If you want to follow the page for the show, that's X Talk Official on Instagram. Or if you want to follow me, that's Markus with a K, Markus X Official on Instagram. Yeah, thank you again for being here. This was so cute. I can't wait to sit down to edit this and get it out.
I had a blast. Thank you so much. All right.
Hell yeah. Well, let's hit don't jump off yet. We got to hit the outro. One more dance.
This that X Talk, body rock, give us everything you got. X Talk, never stop, tune right in, you know the spot. X Talk, body rock, give us everything you got. X Talk, never stop, tune right in, you know the spot.
All right.